Did you do it? Okay. Okay, now it's going Google Live, no, YouTube Live, and Facebook Live too. And let me start sharing.
You can let me know when you want to go.
All right, so let us begin. Dear Venerable Dhamma friends, Venerable monks and Venerable Nun, and dear friends in Dhamma. So today we have a great privilege of starting this unique Dhamma discussion in English. I have personally spoken to all the venerable monks and nuns and extended invitation to many other venerables. And whoever responded to our invitation, I have included their pictures in the poster, the flyer. And we have about 14, 15 venerables are present at this moment. Others are on the way, I guess. And this is going to be a great discussion, and eye-opening and very insightful Dhamma Sakacha, Dhamma discussion. And so I would like to respectfully welcome all the venerable monks who are present at this moment. Can you go back to gallery? So let me introduce every venerable monk and nun who is present at this moment. Venerable Sunanto Tero from Brazil, and he kindly accepted our invitation to join. And then we have the most venerable Hinbonne Kondanya Mahatero. He is the abbot of the Staten Island Buddhist Vihara in New York. We have Venerable Anuruddha Mahatero. He is joining us from Switzerland. And so it's midnight, and I hope you won't fall asleep. And we have Venerable Puja Piti Santusita, and he's joining us from Italy, and it's also midnight there. And we have Venerable Bhikkhuni Vimala joining us from Chicago, Illinois, and and we have Venerable Kirinde Vijita joining us from Ottawa. We have Bante Kusala joining us from Detroit, Michigan. Bante Sankicha joining us from Detroit, Michigan. Bhante Jinananda is joining us from Ottawa, Toronto, and the most venerable Kurunagoda Dhammaloka Mahatero is actually joining us from Sri Lanka. It's early morning, and for this discussion, he got up early morning. And we have Venerable Yuttadhammo Bhikkhu joining us from St. Catharines, Ontario. And we have Bhante Sunita joining us from Ottawa, Canada. We have Venerable Dhammo from the Stony Creek, Ontario, Canada. And we have Bhante Dhammananda joining us from Detroit. And so I would like to welcome all of you Venerable sirs to this program. And dear friends, this is just a kind instruction for you. And I know we monks are joining the Zoom discussion, this Zoom program, and we are going to discuss about a very important discourse, the Sutra of the Buddha, known as the Metta Sutta. And those who are watching us, we also live streaming at the Facebook and also YouTube. Those who are watching us from Facebook and YouTube, if you have any questions about this sutra or any concern, please make a comment. And we have our assistant, Dave, is actually monitoring everything, and he's in the background, by the way. and so just enjoy this discussion, and if possible, please share this Facebook Live or YouTube Live to your social media platform for the greater benefit of all sentient beings. And I think although this is a discussion by the Buddhist monks, and what we are discussing is actually ancient wisdom, which is beneficial to all of us. We all can benefit from the ancient wisdom, the words of the Buddha. And so today we are going to discuss this sutra, which has about 10 verses. And we venerable monks always chant this sutra to give the blessings to the devotee community. And so they really enjoy this, receive the blessings of the venerable monks. And we chant this sutra because it is all about loving kindness, goodwill, wishing happiness to every sentient being. This is about inclusion, power of inclusion. We wish happiness to every sentient being. And so now let us begin this discussion. And we have Venerable Bhante Revata from Toronto, Canada. Reverend Revata, if possible, please turn on your camera. And also we have, I would like to welcome Venerable Punna. And so if, I think you're from Pittsburgh, and if possible, please have your camera on. And so that people can see us, people can see the good face, wonderful, radiant face, for the greater benefit of all sentient beings. All right, so if possible, Venerable Jinanando, would you mind telling us the background story of this Metta Sutta? I think you have to unmute yourself.
Thank you, Venerable Bhante Sanapala, for having this program for all of us and the benefits of all living beings. It's a huge task for me, but anyway, with your invitation, I would like to take the opportunity to speak about the background of the discourse. As you know, this discourse is recorded in Sutta Nipata, in the Khuddaka Nikaya, and it is one of the very important discourses for the monastic and also Buddhists from each background because of so many reasons. And we would definitely discuss them during the discussion. So if I move from there to the background story directly, that would be really beneficial for us. As you know, a group of around 500 monks got the instruction from the Buddha before they move on to a place to meditate, really to begin their Vasana retreat. Then what happened, this group of 500 monks, as planned, went to that place with the instruction from the Buddha, but in the story we do not clear what kind of instructions we get. They get from the Buddha, but initially, as we know, Buddha, instructed monks to be mindful about the Vinaya and also the Dhamma, because the Vinaya part is really important for a bhikkhu and bhikkhuni to get into the right Dhamma. So I assume that the Buddha gave some type of instructions for them to fulfill their training during the Vasana period in that particular place they wish to go. The story goes on that these venerable monks went to that particular place where a lot of trees and wood and everything over there for mendicants to stay and meditate. So they settled down there, and they were able to make the ground for their Vasana period. There we can see that these venerable monks started their training with the support of the people who live in the vicinity, and so there was a very simple and but very productive way of entering into practice according to the story. But little by little, these venerable monks got into some little issues, and they were not able to meditate well according to the story because of some sounds and some unclear way of interruption. So if there is any anything to clarify about the background story, I would come again and tell, but here I'm telling the story in a simple way. So as a result, they were unable to concentrate well on meditation subjects each individual monks took into. Therefore, they experienced hardship during their meditation. As venerable monks who strive to meditate and succeed in meditation well, you know that if something is wrong with the meditation, it is not easy to focus, no matter which meditation subject we take. So these venerable monks experience not peace at all, but some confusion. If I put this experience, whole experience into words, basically they experience the five hindrances more than anything else. Mm-hmm. So the reason is that, according to the story, background story, the deities, three deities who were residents there, did not like these venerable monks, reside at the foot of trees, because these trees were their mansion. These, in my understanding, this is not the full story. It is my understanding that these deities were not also the followers of the Buddha, or they were unhappy about all these things going on. If they were, deities who had to know about the Buddha and the Dhamma and Sangha, they would definitely support this monk. Therefore, we can easily assume that these deities, three deities, were not such beings. Therefore, they disturb these venerable monks. According to the story, all these disturbances, problems for these venerable monks happen due to the deities usual things that they did to remove these monks from the area. So we can see that they made a different type of form, terrible form, human body without head, and also different terrible sounds, and so on. We can see that the Buddha himself, as the self-enlightened bodhisattva, experienced terrible sounds, but he was ready for accepting these. But these unenlightened 500 monks were not like that. They were fearful of the sounds and they were unable to do that. As a result, at the end, they didn't get anything out of the practice and decided to go to meet the Buddha to get more instruction. Actually, they were not in the opinion to return to the place because of the terrible experience they got. Somehow they managed to go to the Buddha, and Buddha said that it is the place you must go and meditate for your enlightenment. And there, Buddha did not send them without bare hands. They taught the Metta Sutta in full form as we get today, and keep that as your meditation subject, karmasthana, and also recite it together as a group and get the power of mind, loving kindness and also mindfulness. And that's what the Buddha said to these 500 monks. So they returned to the place with the weapons of wisdom, particularly loving kindness, and meditated well. At the end of the Vassana period, they were managed to get into enlightenment. So that this is the background story in a simple words. Thank you. I think this is enough for the discussion.
Yeah. No, thank you, Venerable Jinanando, for telling us this beautiful background story of the sutra. You have beautifully explained that, and I think most people, although have heard about this sutta, they don't know the story behind it. So I think that's why before we get into the real discussion of the sutra itself, I just wanted you to tell the story so that people would have a great understanding about the sutta, the essence of the sutta. So now I'm also very happy to see I'm the most venerable Bhikkhu Bodhi is also watching us Facebook, and I'm very happy and honored to see you, Venerable Bhante, Bhikkhu Bodhi. You're watching us, and I had you in my mind. And maybe in 2 weeks' time, our next discussion, I would like to have you, because you have translated, all the Digha Nikaya, Majjhima Nikaya, Samyutta Nikaya, and it would be wonderful to hear your explanation, Venerable Sir. So now let us get into the sutra itself. And of course, when the monks got terrified, they returned to the Buddha, and the Buddha taught them the sutra, and then they went back there to that spot for the meditation. So now let us begin the sutra with the first two stanzas, and I would like to invite the most venerable Hinbune Kondanya Bhante to explain our audience the first two stanzas. I think these first two stanzas have beautiful qualities. I think everyone should know.
Thank you, Venerable Sarnapala, for getting all these venerable monks from around the world.
Yeah.
So this is a big effort that
Yeah.
you have done, the big task. You have got everybody involved in this and share the Dhamma with all the people who are interested in it. So this is a great dedication and sacrifice. So we appreciate it very much, and
Thank
also for making us participate in that. So I really, when I think of this Karne Metta Sutta, before I get into these stanzas, so basically we can see from the story, background story, and also when we think of Buddha's teaching, he, in addition to the 5 basic principles that we, all the precepts, he encouraged us to practice Metta, Karuna, Mudita, Upekha. So 4 sublime state of living, 4 Brahma Viharas. So in that, to practice it, definitely in the first 2 stanzas are talking about, first section of the this sutra talks about qualities that one should have, the practitioner should have. So these virtues, these qualities should, they should develop this within us. So slowly, then the sutra is going to be in the middle part of it is talking about the to whom should we practice, towards whom we should be practicing it, and the last part we talk what is the benefit we are getting from that. So these are 3 sections. In the first section, we talk about the qualities that one should have. So skilled in good, wishing to attain that state of peace, should act thus. So this is how it begins. So purpose of this is to attain the state of peace. So before attaining this peace within us, not outside. So once we developing those qualities to peace within us, so we can achieve the peace with outside. So when we peace within us, so it is very important thing. We should be at peace. To do that, slowly what are we doing here? One should be able, straight, upright, obedient, gentle, and humble. These are the qualities that we should be developing. Sakko, the skillfulness that we have, we should be benefiting. Spiritually, it's not something to achieve materially, but spiritual achievement, spiritual calmness that we are looking for. Straight, who is coming into this, looking for this peace within, so we should be very humble. We should be very straightforward, honest. Honest integrity should be there. So therefore, we all should be starting. So this, the way of Buddhist life begins with 5 basic principles. So that is a basic foundation. Not to kill or harm any life. To be respectful to all living beings, living things. Not to take anything which is not given to us, not to commit any kind of sensual misconduct, not to misuse or abuse our words. There are 4 verbal mistakes we can do, and not to take an intoxication, as well as alcohol and drugs, or even from our pride that we have. All these things are inclusive. So having these great virtues, standing on this foundation, strong foundation, so we become very humble, gentle, and kind person, obedient. So there's no pride. Ego is involving in this. Ego is, of course, we are all supposed to kill our egos. Ego is the biggest hindrance we all have. So slowly building up these skills, we are getting into the path of this serenity or the peace within us. So that would be supporting us to cultivate this, even though this is beginning point. This is not easy. We may be finding it. And no matter how much we speak, it's going to be only a word if we are not actively engaging our hearts and minds in it. So definitely these qualities, with these qualities, we always be mindfully. This is something that challenges us. That challenge is that, is this just a word, or are we practicing it? So in front of you, you may have an object to practice. So your friend, your co-worker, the residents that living with you are the good objects for you to practice. So right there, we can begin our daily practice among us, around us. So therefore, these virtues, these qualities are very important. And the second one, I'm just touching with base this. One should be content and easy to support with few duties, living lightly, controlling senses, discreet, not impudent, and unattached to families. All these things are good for monks. It's supporting, because these are taught to the monks. Buddha gave these instructions. Even though you are going to the forest to practice the meditation, looking for the achievement, spiritual achievements. So you should not, when you walk in the collecting of food, that you should not attach to these families. Sometimes due to our lack of mindfulness, instead of doing this right, you may be attached to this person or that person, that family, this family, because we are as human beings, so we may have our sensual pleasures. So wherever you get the delicious food, if you attach to that, maybe that is going to be another hindrance for you continuing your spiritual practice that you are planning to develop. So therefore, all these things are, suppose now most of the time what we hear is that we are too busy, we don't have time to meditate. So therefore, always if you are too busy, it's difficult. So monk's life should be like, very light, very simple. So therefore, it should be not, we shouldn't be having a life that unsupportable with so much of demands. So we shouldn't be a burden to people, the community that we are living in. So that way, with few duties, if we simple lifestyle, if we adopt our lives, and so we can achieve these spiritual goals to a certain extent. Too busy means you are not practicing, you are having problems there. So therefore, Buddha encouraged, with few duties, we should be living our lives and also support the others around us. So I think very basically, this is what I can share with you according to these two first stanzas. Let's come back to it and discuss more as we are going into discussion.
Yeah, thank you, Bhante Kondai. You have beautifully explained the first two verses, and I think these are very important qualities. And so I would like to invite the Venerable Bhikkhuni Vimala to see whether you could add something into this, like these qualities the Buddha highlighted in the sutra. Do you have any idea about these qualities? How not just the monks, the lay people, how they could incorporate these qualities into their life?
Yes, I was thinking about these and often think about how lay people could look at these same qualities. And I think we can think about it. Let me make sure I'm on the right ones. We can think about it for a lay person. There's always that adjustment they have to make to being responsible for their family members and taking care of, sometimes the needs of their family have to take precedent, or the work they have to do. But they can still aspire to the goals of peacefulness. And I think when it talks about that for the monastics to have few responsibilities, that may not be possible for lay people, but they can certainly work at reducing responsibilities, maybe being overly busy or overly tied up in outside activities and neglecting their practice. And I think having like a light responsibilities, lay people may often feel that everything they're doing is necessary, like achieving more and making more money. And I think it's always good for lay people and for monastics to look and see, are we too busy? Are we chasing after the wrong things? So I think lay people can look at these and they don't need to think that they have to be a monastic to develop, to have right sila, to then develop loving kindness. I think it's possible to be a lay person and develop loving kindness to the same degree.
Yeah, so no, that's very interesting. You know, like when these qualities that he should be clever, upright, exceedingly upright, obedient, gentle, and humble. And I think these are the qualities that not just the monks or the Buddhists, anyone could have, right?
Anyone.
Anyone.
And also the being clever, being skillful, being good with their hands. The monks had to do a lot of things, even though they weren't supposed to be too busy. They certainly had to take care of their own living situation. But I like the idea for a lay person to be handy. Is I think the Buddha was saying, be handy.
Yeah.
And so that makes someone a better neighbor, that makes someone more able to be self-sufficient and take care of things instead of having to pay for everything or to hire other people to do a lot of things for themselves. It has a nice feeling about being more self-sufficient.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Venerable Bhikkhuni Vimala, for explaining those beautiful qualities in a simple way for the lay people to understand. And also, I just noticed Venerable Pemaratana from Pittsburgh is also here with us. Welcome, Bhante Pemaratana, to this unique discussion. So now, if we have gone through the first two verses of the Dhamma, the Karanametta Sutta, and now next two verses, Nacha kuddang samachare kinchiyena vinyu pare upavadeyung sukhino wa kemino hontu sabbe satta bhavantu sukhitatta. So, Venerable Anuruddha from Switzerland, could you please unmute yourself and just talk about that verse?
Yes, here then, most venerable sirs. So he explained then one should not do any slight wrong, which the wise might censure. So may all beings be happy and secure. May all beings have happy minds. Here, mainly the best part of the sutta emphasized the moral conduct or sila. So in the same time, this verse to pay attention to the sharing the loving kindness. So one side, then how the yogis or practitioners being in right conducting, they developing this characteristic, what we explained already. So after that, who are very capable to radiate the metta, loving kindness himself and within around him.
Yeah, thank you, Bhante Anuruddha, for explaining the essence, the meaning of that stanza, the verse, and also it continues the next one. Bhante Sankicha from Detroit, Detroit, Michigan. Could you please continue with to next stanza based on the verse number 3? And can you explain the true meaning of this?
Yes, Bhante, thank you very much. The verse number 3, as Bhante explained, I would like to continue actually explaining some deeper meaning to that. First of all, I would like to bring your attention how this important discourse is laid out. When you think about how it starts with the great intention of achieving the goal. Here it is our spiritual goal. How one's practice or entire life should be managed. How our practice should be, and in line with all these spiritual qualities, right? So therefore this sutta, as you see, it's beautifully laid out. In order for us to achieve this higher goal, these are the qualities that we need to cultivate. These are the spiritual assets, actually, in a way one can maintain in a life. So therefore this, especially the very first part of this discourse, can be identified as the management of our life. In spiritual life should be managed in this way. So this stanza, therefore, is a very special place, actually. Nachakuddan samachare kinchena vinyu pariupadaya. So that part is actually directly connected to our self-discipline, self-control. In different places, this point is seen in different discourses, how we should watch our behavior, because one of the biggest challenges for anyone in this spiritual journey to avoid the wrongdoing, negative actions, wrong behavior, right? Because we all are emotional beings. Means we can commit any negative action, we can commit any wrong behavior at any time. So therefore, Buddha gives us necessary instructions to take care of that step. This is all about watching our senses, and control our behavior, not to commit any negative, wrong action out of our emotions. So for that, in one place, Buddha gives us a teaching to question myself. Whenever we perform any action, look into yourself. We need to think about if my own heart will question this or complain me because of this my behavior. And think about others, not only myself. Think about others. Maybe wise people, as it mentions here, which the wise might censure. If any wise people, spiritual people, intelligent people come to know my behavior, they will criticize me. They will disgrace me. So therefore, avoid the bad, avoid the evil. And not only that, in one place I remember Buddha mentions, not only myself, not only other human beings, our peers around us, but think about there are spiritual beings in this world, divine beings. Sometimes the human nature is to do negative actions in secret, thinking that nobody would see us. Right? So therefore, Buddha teaches us to be aware of these spiritual beings, divine beings. They can see you. So thinking that, avoid the bad. It's good. It's not good for you. It's bad for you. So thinking like that, we have to avoid the bad. So that is the kind of foundation for our practice, our training. So based on that practice, we continue to practice our loving kindness. So that's something I can explain about the verse 3.
Yeah. And how about the number 4, Bhante Sankicha?
Yeah. So that is how we should practice the loving kindness, right? So yekeji panabhutati tasava thavarava anavasesa digavayi mahantava majjima rasaka nukatula. So as our most honorable Bhante Kondanya mentioned earlier, this loving kindness itself, this is a divine quality. We call it the sublime quality. When we cultivate that, it is instructed us for us to practice limitlessly, right? Without boundaries, without limitations, and without discriminations. So this is the very first place in this discourse, Karani Metta Sutta. It explains how we are supposed to radiate our loving kindness, without boundaries. Whatever living beings there may be, without exception. And there can be strong people, living beings who are very strong and fearful, and sometimes there may be living beings who are living in fear, weak, and sometimes in some dimensions are mentioned here. Living beings in all levels, like long or large, medium, short, subtle, or grass. This is another expansion how we should radiate our loving kindness. That means without leaving any living being behind, including, as you mentioned earlier, inclusively, we have to practice loving kindness. So when we radiate our loving kindness in such a way, this is the way to live a life like a divine. This is a kind of broadening our heart, broadening our mind with the divine quality of loving kindness.
Yeah, thank you. It's a beautiful explain. And I'm very grateful to all these words of wisdom that you all are sharing with our audience. And now when we go to next one, on verse number 5, Dittava yeva additta yecha dure vasante avidure bhutava sambhave seva sabbe satta bhavantu sukhitatta. So I would like to invite Venerable Kurunagoda Dhammaloka Bhante. Is he here? Oh, yeah. So Venerable Dhammaloka Bhante, could you please explain the meaning of this? If I know you're joining us from Sri Lanka, it's early morning.
Dittava additta, visible or invisible. Yecha dure vasanti avidure. Those are living near or far. I think myself also would be included for you. Yecha dure vasanti avidure. Bhutava sambhave siva. Those who were born or to be born. Sabbe satta bhavantu sukhitatta. May all living beings be well, happy, and with peaceful mind. So this is including all the sensual beings, radiating part of metta, loving friendliness throughout all the universe, without any discrimination. Whether you know or even without your knowledge, including all the sentient beings in this planet as well as many other world systems throughout all the universe. This is the way to radiate thoughts of loving friendliness. I think this is how the Buddha instruct to radiate thoughts of loving friendliness.
Okay. Yeah, this is very interesting. It's not just how sometimes people tend to think, okay, I'm going to show my kindness or love to someone who is in front of me, the people I know. But I think this sutra goes beyond that, right? It's like we all are embracing the entire universe, all sentient beings, those seen or unseen, though near or far, those who are dying, those who are coming into birth, and we are just wishing. I think that's a statement. Sabbe satta bhavantu sukhitata. It's not just the human beings. All said, when we say sentient beings, beings in other dimensions too. So we are wishing happiness. So that is beautiful explained. Thank you, Bhante Dhammaloka, for explaining that beautiful stanza. So now the next one, number 6. Naparo para nikubeta nati manyeta kattachinan kanchi vyarosana patiga sanya nanya manyasa dukkha michaya. So I would like to invite Venerable Kirinde Vijita to explain the meaning, the essence of this.
Thank you, Venerable Thanapala, and dear Venerable monks and respected our teachers. It's a very interesting discussion, and we are talking about, as Bhante Thanapala invited me, is number 6 of this discourse. Before that, I would like to mention that up to 3rd stanza of this sutta, there are 15 qualities has been explained. So I divide this discourse into 2 major parts. So first 3 stanzas, the Buddha explains 15 qualities that a lay or ordained disciple can practice in their life in order to establish a firm foundation to make one's life balanced in the midst of, suffering in life, in terms of, what we encounter in our life. So therefore, those 15 qualities which were explained in the first 3 stanzas, lay a very profound foundation. So now we are talking about the second part, which is Buddha explain in detail how to practice this loving kindness. So as explained in the 6th stanza, let no one deceive another, nor despise anyone anywhere, neither from anger nor ill will should anyone wish harm to another. This is actually very, very interesting, very meaningful invitation from the Buddha. One should not, wish harm upon another. So this is kind of going deeper into our awareness, even from our thoughts. We should not wish harm to anyone. So when it comes to that we leave all our physical and verbal action behind, and we further move into a different level of our practice. That is, we do not even wish harm with our psychological part, which is our thoughts. And for that, as I see, we need a certain degree of awareness of our own mind. Otherwise, it can be quite challenging. Sometimes our mind works in funny ways. So even without thinking, that we sometimes put into, some, thoughts into action. So therefore, even before we put them into action, we should be able to be mindful, not to harm, wish harm upon anyone else. So therefore, I find this especially this one, this 6th stanza, gives us a very deep meaning to all of us, especially, now in the world we are suffering from many different political and social, economical, and in many different ways, people, harvest anger or resentment. But the Buddha's invite is very meaningful in that way. We just should not, bring harm even with our thoughts to anyone. So the what benefit we reach by this practice is we experience a deeper happiness in our life. So it helps us to, develop that, self-appreciation within. So therefore, I think this stanza has a deeper meaning, but as, we continue to discuss, so we can elaborate further. Thank you,
Yeah.
Bhante.
Yeah, thank you. No, thank you, Bhante Vijita, for beautiful explaining. It has definitely the deeper meaning, the psychological aspect to it. I think that is where as Buddha, we should not deceive another person. We should not despise another person anywhere. And also, we should not harm anyone out of anger or ill will. And I think this is the essence of the real metta, the loving kindness. And we can, of course, discuss this more deep as we go into the explanation of the remaining verses of the sutta. Now, the next one is a mata yata niyang puttang ayusa ekaputta manurakhe evampi sabba bhutesu manasam bhavaya parimanang. So, Venerable Santusita from Italy, actually it's midnight. I hope you're not falling asleep. And I see that you're fully awake. You're very enthusiastic. And could you please explain the meaning of and the essence of that sutta, that particular verse?
Okay, Bhante, I will ask you some misleading for me. So my English is not good. According to this chapter, the Buddha say, how do we must to continue for the metta? Mata Ataniyam Putang, as mother would risk for the own life, protect her only child. The very difficult to the parents for their child kept away for them. They are very lovely and they look after them. As according to the Buddha, he told for us to all living beings must to make a loving kindness for the as like mother who look after their own son. Even so, toward all living beings, evampi sabba bhutasmi bhutasu manasambhave apirimanam. Even so, towards all living beings, one should cultivate beyond loving kindness. That's according to the Buddha. We must deliver our loving kindness for the any without any
The limitation
and divisions.
Yeah.
Is enough, I think. Very difficult. I'm not using for the English long time.
Yeah, no, you must be of course, Venerable Santusita, don't worry about this. This is all about we monks are conversing in English to get familiar with the English terms, the teachings of the Buddha. This is based on the mutual understanding, mutual respect. This is also creating an environment for all the monks to express themselves in English. So don't hesitate, don't worry about anything. I think this is what you said, even that is wonderful. And I understand it, people understand it, what you said. And so that is amazing. And keep practicing, So to continue with the same verse, and the next one, number 7 and 8. Bhante Kusala from Detroit, Michigan. Could you please just add more into that, number 7 and 8, starting from number 8. I think mother, there's a beautiful metaphor we find here in this teaching, just like the mother. And now what is the connection between the mother and this loving kindness?
Thank you, Bhante, for the invitation to stop at this verse number 7. So you mentioned, why is it a mother that, that the Buddha has taken as the embodiment, perhaps the greatest protection for a child? I believe that a mother would go an extra mile to protect her son when she sees that the son is in danger. So I think that is the quality that the Buddha observed, and there is no any other better person than the mother to portray that kind of loving kindness. So, well, the Buddha could have used father or aunt or somebody else, but mother always stands out, as we see in many stories, that she would even jump into fire, jump into use some kind of armor, some kind of protection to make sure that her son is in safe grounds. So, I would like to go back to the story that Bhante Jinananda, brought to the discussion in the very beginning, where the monks, when the monks returned disappointed to the Buddha, asking for a different forest to go, at which point, the Buddha said, monks, go back to the same forest, and this time I will give you a weapon. Go with this weapon. And the weapon here is loving kindness. And it's also the same kind of weapon that this mother is using. Like, I love my son, and I want to make sure this is my only son, and this is like, and it's like she protects this son just as she's protecting her own eyes. That kind of simile kind of tells this, that when we look around, when we see birds and all kinds of animals, we can also develop that kind of attitude that this is my son that I'm seeing, so I should look after this being. This bird is my son. This dog is my son. So that kind of, this cat is my son, my only son. So you are like giving this cuddly and warm effect. Make sure you feed, make sure you look after this being who is available to you, whether that being is next to you or in a place where you can't see. Even then, privately, you have that attitude towards all beings. And also you mentioned verse number 8, I believe. Should I go that far or should I stop here?
Yeah, I think it's okay. You can continue. And also, I see our most venerable teacher, Bhante Mudite, is joining us from Sri Lanka, and also Venerable Dhampa Kirti from Korea. Welcome to this program. I think he's amazing. He speaks perfect Korean, and he established a temple there. He's also a professor at the university. So I will get back to you. And so if possible, continue with the next verse, Bhante Kusala.
Yeah, so the next verse goes as Mettancha sabba lokasming manasang bhavaye aparimana uddhang adhocha tiriyancha asambadhang avirang asapattam. So the quality that the mind can be developed aparimanang, endlessly, to the infinity. Manasang bhave, let the mind be developed endlessly. Sabba lokasming, to the entire world. And here, even in the beginning, we didn't see the Buddha naming any animal like, the tiger or snake. It's just all, long or short, large sized or any being. So there's this inclusiveness right there. And when it comes to directions, the 6, just basically Uddhang, above, Ado, which is below, Tiryang, across. It all sums up to these 3 directions. Like that's how far you can like look at, like above, below, and across. In wherever you look, the space is holding the value of all these beings. And I think toward the end, there is this asambadhang, without any sort of you are not obstructed by any enmity that you may have in your own mind. And that says that when you cultivate loving kindness, you are the first person to be benefited, right? So when you are benefited, when it is working right for you, and it definitely has a ripple effect. It affects all other beings around you without you knowing. And I think I would stop at asapattang, the quality of, without hatred or resentment. This is also a quality that one can have as a person, that you are not an enemy of anybody. The doors of your heart is open for all beings, and they can cross enter and leave at any time, and you remain not judging and not showing any enmity towards any of these beings. And I think other venerables can join and carry on from here onward.
That is also very important verse, because we have so much to learn from these verses. And if we continue with the verse number 9 now, Tittancharan nisinnoa sayanoa yavatas vigatamiddo etang sating aditya brahmametam viharang idamahu. Venerable Yuttadhammo, how do you, Venerable Yuttadhammo is from St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. And how would you see the essence of that verse? Maybe you can go back to other verses too, maybe.
Hi, I hope, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I'm new to this all. Thank you, Venerable.
Yeah.
So, I mean, one of the great things about this sutta is how all-encompassing it is. It's a sutta that brings metta into our path. The path is not metta, but metta is an important and a powerful support for our practice. And so our practice encompasses our whole life, whether we're standing or walking or sitting or lying. And so our practice of metta can be incorporated into any one of these postures, and it can be incorporated into every aspect of our life, because that's where practice takes place. Metta is something that we're all engaging with right now, as we sit here together, smiling at each other.
That's true.
Bhante Saranapala with his big smile and his kind words to all of us. And all of us appreciating each other and coming together in such harmony. It's quite remarkable. We're practicing metta right here, sitting. We practice it when we say hello, when we say good morning, when we wish people a good day. Metta is like every aspect of the Buddha's teaching. It's a part of our life. Practice is life, or life is the path. And so metta is part of that. Titang charang nisi noa saya noa. Yawatasa vigatamido. And it being an aspect of sati is a really interesting word, because we don't often think of metta as being associated with sati, but of course they work very much together. People see, in my teaching focuses very much on the satipatthana, and I'm sure a lot of ours do. And so we often get these questions of how you can incorporate metta into your practice. How can I apply metta as a part of my satipatthana practice? And this sutta obviously gives some really good support in that direction. But here it also reminds us that this is a part of sati, or this makes use of sati. If you have mindfulness, the power of mindfulness to keep your mind pure and clear and present, it removes all of the resentment and all of the negative qualities that were mentioned earlier as being enemies to metta, and it sets you in a perfect position to present yourself in such a way that is helpful and beneficial, kind and friendly. And so I think metta makes use of sati, and they work very much in tandem. And so the Buddha's use of the word here is really interesting. Another thing I really like about this sutta is how it reminds us that it brings us back to earth. Like metta is powerful and wonderful, but it's ultimately in the context of our practice of sati and our development of what's going to be talked about in verse 10, which is of course the ultimate practice and goal.
Yeah. No. So thank you. So now the last verse, which is dittincha anupagamma silava dassanena sampanno kamesu vinaya gedan nahijatu gabba seyang punareti. I think that is the last stage of this metta practice cultivation, and it has some important the teaching. So I would like to invite Venerable Bhante Pemaratana from Pittsburgh, USA, to explain that number, verse 10.
Thank you, Bhante. It is such a great pleasure to be with everyone. So let me read the translation. Not falling into erroneous views, but virtuous and endowed with vision, removing desire for sensual pleasures, he comes never again to birth in a womb. So I think in this verse, Bhante, the whole discussion is moving beyond metta.
Yeah.
So far it has been explaining about different ways that we can, cultivate our loving kindness. This is more like helping us to move beyond metta, and even explaining what could be the benefit of, developing metta. So here we have a very important, interesting term here. The one is ditti, and the other one is dassana. So two different terms. So here the Buddha is asking us to go beyond ditti, but be endowed with dassana. So ditti is the term that we use for views, images, concepts. And he's asking us to be careful, be mindful of the preconceived categories that we may have in our mind, and try to transcend them, go beyond them, but endowed with dassana, which means direct experience. So when it comes to context of metta, ditti can also mean here that kind of views that we carry about different kinds of people. When from our childhood, and when we hear from other people, without our knowing, we may have certain categories of different kinds of people. So we categorize people based on color, based on social class, based on ethnicity. So we use even certain terms to refer to those people, right? So we think that those people are like this. Those people are, like this. So we have those kind of views, categories. I think what the Buddha is asking here is like go beyond those categories and be open to direct experience with them. If you really directly talk to those people, be with these people, you'll be able to go beyond your preconceived categories, and you will see the humility of each and every person, right? And of course, there's a deeper meaning in this case that we should even to the extent that when we practice loving kindness, we should go beyond our own what we call sakkaya ditthi. So because when you develop this loving kindness, eventually we can even experience jhanas, like jhanic experience. So if you don't have a right view, samma ditthi, and even we can use our jhanic experience to postulate a self, there's a very experience of jhana, the very peaceful experience can be used as an evidence to believe in a self. So even we had to be careful of, falling into those kind of, views, and then be open to the actual experience, which is always changing and always, transient. So what's here is, so once we have that kind of right view, and then be endowed with right view, and then also silava, again, we find the moral basis here. And what's going to happen, we are going to remove desire for sensual pleasures. So this is very interesting, Bhante, because here we find the metta as an antidote for karma, the sensual pleasures, right? So usually when we practice meditation, Bhante, so our teachers have instructed us to use contemplation of repulsiveness of the body, or contemplation of the impermanence as a technique to transcend sensual desire for sensual pleasures. So like antidote. But here's very interestingly, but they're saying that metta, the loving kindness, can function as a technique to go beyond, desire for sensual pleasures, right? But it's very interesting, because when we have desire for, let's say, desire, very sensual desire, kind of sensual pleasure, kind of desire for a person, and we are not really being kind to that person, right? So when we develop kind of lust towards someone, it means that we would like to use that person for our own personal use, right? So when we develop metta, or like more loving kindness, that kindness can help us to go beyond, having lust or, or sensual desire for someone, and in treating that person as an individual, as a being who's subject to suffering. And so in that way, I think this is a very interesting way to see metta as an antidote to karma. And the last part is, Bhante, actually the benefit or the result of this loving kindness practice, that a person who develops loving kindness at the highest level will never come again to birth in a womb. So here, sometimes people may interpret this as like, never coming to birth means like, going, like achieving the enlightenment, or maybe going beyond the samsara. But I think here the term used here is gabba, right, Bhante? Gabba, it really means the womb. So the beings who have been in the womb are the beings in the sensual realm, karma, right? So I think the highest level that we can achieve only through loving kindness would be like, achieving, like going beyond the karma, and going beyond the, the tendency of going beyond the attachment of the karma, the sensual realm, and then go to the non-sensual realm. This could be like being born in the Brahma realms, but it's still, we have a journey to make even towards the enlightenment.
No, that's interesting. Beautiful explained. Thank you, Bhante Pemaratan. I think I think as I listen to all these explanations by the most knowledgeable, the wise, intelligent, erudite monks like all of you, it's also triggering our minds to expand our consciousness, to have a better understanding, the world view. And so now, with that, Bhante Punna, would you like to expand a bit more in that? Like, I don't know, it's something like this, not falling into wrong views. Does it mean, wrong view means maybe hurting someone with anger, hatred? This could be wrong, could it be wrong view? Or could it be something, of course, we know that we can talk about this. And the right view is always, love, goodwill, compassion, kindness, love for all sentient beings. And and maybe desire for sensual pleasures also could lead to harming or hating or a lot of violent activities. And then if we engage in such things, then of course maybe we are still going to be part of this realm of the world and the samsara. And so now, Bhante Punna, what do you think of that?
Thank you, Bhante, preparing virtual stage for our monks to meet and share our knowledge and our practices. It is, I think, very beneficial for each other. Thank you so much. And it's a great pleasure to be with you always. And Bhante, actually, as you mentioned here, actually, Bhante Pema Ratana, Dr. Pema Ratana explained very well. I think no point to elaborate anymore there, because the view here is actually the identity, the self identity, or whatever the so-called egoistic thoughts. I think when you are coming up to this through this loving kindness practice with the guidance of the Buddha, according to this particular discourse, actually you are coming here without having any borders, any hindrances. So you are, I think, heading towards the enlightenment directly. Or that is what the clear explanation in this, because through the loving kindness, as Bhante, Dr. Pema Ratana mentioned, that this is one of the ways to endowed with the insight. This is interesting, and this is a very special explanation for us. I think in this aspect, actually, Bhante, there's no point to have any views here, because beyond this point, actually, we are heading towards the enlightenment.
Yeah, thank
Many
you.
more things to talk about, but I'm really appreciate Bhante. I think everybody explained very well and everybody participated. It is very nice, and thank you so much, Bhante.
No, thank you. So now, when we analyze the whole sutra, now of course we have gone from verse to verse, and all of you beautifully explained. And now, Bhante Sunita, do you have any idea about this, the Karanametta Sutta, like, sociological point of view, or psychological point of view, or anything?
First of all, thank you very much for making this stage for monks to discuss our practice and also the Dhamma. I would pay my respect to the Bhante Saranapala and other venerable sirs for having me to this conversation and dialogue. Yes, actually, I would explain in that in a simple way. This is kind of in the psychotherapy point of view. This is kind of applying or practicing CBT, like cognitive behavioral therapy, right? From the beginning of the sutta, from the first stanza and to the last stanza, it's explained clearly that this is the practice, this is the therapy to transform someone's mind or behavior from negativity to the positivity, from the positive negative life to the positive life. This is clearly I got this sense from and core from this Karanametta Sutta, and also from this dialogue. And if always the first I would say in this way, the first and second and third stanzas explain our virtues, sila, so ethics. We have to, if we want to transform our negative mind to the positive mind, or negative behavior to the positive behavior, we should have understand that what are the negativity in our mind. So then we can practice to eradicate them or remove those things, right? And then and after that, from third stanzas to ninth one, it's I would say it is samadhi, concentration, right? And metta, as the metta meditation is the one of the samadhi meditations. So that is why I would say that I could say samadhi is a concentration here. Metta, practice of metta is help very much to concentrate. That is why the loving kindness or metta doesn't work alone. It is always with mindfulness. That is why love plus kindness, loving kindness, and I would say kindness plus mindfulness, kindfulness. As you teach always kindfulness, right?
Yeah.
And the final goal or aim of practicing metta is is in this way is the complete freedom from negative thoughts, starting from the miccaditti and wrong views. And lastly, I would say the last stanza, it is panya, wisdom. Is the final goal of practicing meditation and mindfulness and love. And love always actually, loving kindness or metta and kindness, compassion always help us to practice our mindfulness, practice our spirituality. And the final goal of we can attain blissfulness of nibbana, that is ultimate happiness, that is ultimate peace. And that is what I can say now. Thank you very much.
Thank you. No, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. It's beautifully explained. Now, Venerable Dhammakirti from, I don't know whether you're there. Venerable Dhammakirti, I think maybe he's doing something else. The Venerable Dhammananda from Detroit, Michigan, how do you see this this Metta Sutta? Can you explain in 1 or 2 minutes?
Thank you, brother. First of all, most respected Venerable Bhikkhu Bodhi and my elder brother, my most beloved Bhante Mudita, and all the brothers, monks and nuns, which is most of them I know that. So thank you very much, Bhante, arranging this wonderful discussion, sutta discussion. I think this is the most unique and dimensional things that you have started, and I really appreciate it, and thank you so very much.
Yeah, thank you.
So the first of all, that the overall the Karaniya Metta Sutra, and it is a very heart touching sutra among all the Buddha's teachings. The Karaniya Sutra is the basic core teaching of the Lord Buddha, especially that one stanza, number 7, the Mata Yataniyang Puttam, Ayusa Eka Putta Manaraki, Evampi Sabbabhutesu, Mana Sangbhavaye Aparimanang. So, as a mother would risk her own life to protect her only child, same way you should love all living beings and you should cultivate boundless kindness to all. So this is the most powerful message that which is ever in the human history. Anyone in the human history ever said in that powerful message. I mean, among the history of all religion. So, I mean, that powerful message that Buddha delivered to the, I mean, how lovely heart the Buddha has that to the all living beings, that you love as your mother love only the child. For example, like, anyone like to kill son, and the first is the mother to come out. They say, okay, don't kill my child, kill me first. So mother risk like that. So this is, I mean, the Buddha's kindness, Buddha's love, and beyond humanity, beyond the humankind, throughout the whole world. And that overall Karaniya Metta Sutra, that I know that the history of in Indian subcontinent, the first time that Hindu religious sect, Saint Swami Vivekananda studied that sutra, Karaniya Metta Sutra, when he was a very young man, very like 18 or 20 years old. He studied that Karaniya Metta Sutra, and then he fell in love with Buddha's teaching. Then he went to Buddha Gaya to see the Buddha, the Mahabodhi temple in Buddha Gaya. And he said that in his teaching, the Buddha is like the mountain top of the Himalaya, and then his love is like a whole world of the ocean. That is the Buddha's love and kindness to the all living being. Then the second, Rabindranath Tagore, the Nobel laureate Tagore, when he was a very young man, he influenced with the Buddha's teaching, and he studied a book called Buddha Dharma, which is written by his elder brother Satyendranath Tagore. And when he studied that book, and especially he attention to the Karaniya Metta Sutra, and he was so much interested to the Buddha's teaching, and then he studied all the Buddha's teaching, and he fell in love with that, and then he also went to the Buddha Gaya to see the Buddha and on the Mahabodhi temple, and then he wrote many poems, and then the many his teachings influenced by the Buddha's teaching. As you know that the Pujarini, and then also that Chandalika, and many others, many teachings. And he also that show that how the Buddha's kindness and sympathy for the all living being. So that is very interesting. And actually that I like to talk about more about that. As a monkhood life, 38 Vasa in my life, I got experience that whenever we go to the people house, as a monk, we actually chanted the many sutra, 4 or 5 sutra, as you know that we all chanted, but we never explained to the people that what we chanted. So it stick my mind that why not that today you arrangement this kind of this kind of program, which is we can explain to the people that people can understand all the meaning of the what we chanted. For example, we bless them as a 4 or 5 sutra. For example, people got the affected COVID-19, and then we give the like a cancer medication, So we like to give like a over medication. People did not get it. People cannot benefit it of that. So we need to a specific one sutra explain, and then to the Attakatha, the Attakatha. So all the verses that all the stanza that we chanted to the people house, then people get benefit when we explain to the people details. So that is the advice to you that we can as a monk we can do that when we go to the people house, and people get the more benefited. So the whole world can get benefited. And thank you for this kind of
thank you Bhante Dhammananda. And now we have actually come to it's almost 7:30 now. We have just 3 more minutes. And Venerable Dhammo, now I know in Cambodian culture also you always chant this Karaniya Metta Sutta. Now how can you explain the essence of Karaniya Metta Sutta to overall in your community? We cannot hear you. Can you go back? Oh, you have to unmute yourself. Yeah.
Okay. Do you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Bhante. And I would like to pay my respects to all venerable monks. It is a very humble and also quite interesting. I pay good attention to all the venerable monks also explained so far. It's over, it's 80 minutes. The thing that normally also in Cambodian culture, actually also they have different views of Kalanaya Mutta Kosala. Actually, because I just would like to mention the fact that in rural area, actually in a remote area also, local people believe that the chanting Ratana Sutra make ghosts go away, but of course it is not true. So the monks do not chant is Ratana Sutra to discourage superstition. Normally, what ghosts will use their power to make a monk think when they stop chanting, they will find themselves at the top of the bamboo tree. So that's why normally, and when they offer with ritual chanting like that, they also have the negative and positive way. But it's depend on people understanding. Perhaps it is a very limit for them being here. So I just want to explain. But Karana Mutta Kosale is very important. Actually, we start with the beginning of the sutra. Normally, when we become a monk, so as my understand is Khmer people, they like to listen, but either way, positive or negative depend on their capacity to understand. Normally, when we were invited to their house, so we offer this sutra. Yes.
Yeah. So thank you, Venerable Dhammo. And it's actually now 7:30. Of course, there are some other important questions actually sent to me by Bhante Jinanandu, but actually some of them have been addressed as the most Venerable monks explained all the verses, and few other questions I think it requires more time. So I know all the Venerables are busy with their programs, and now it's a chanting time for most monks in North America, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, and we're also going to start soon. So I think overall, we have actually had a very, very productive discussion about the Karuñametta Sutta, and this universal love, goodwill, metta, is the key. That is as Buddha said, the first principle, refrain from taking life, refrain from killing other beings. And now why? It is based on metta, loving kindness, and that is the key, and non-violence. But anyways, to conclude this sutra discussion, I would like to invite Bhante Jinananda to recite over the Patimokkha Gata, Sabba Papassa Karanang.
Thank you, Venerable Sir, and all the Kalyana Mittas. Before I move to the recitation of the Ovada Patimokkha, I would like to wish you well-being and happiness. And tomorrow is a special day for many people in the world. It's Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
We go to the Valentine's Day with the loving kindness practice, which is very appropriate with the Buddha's teaching. So those who listen to us we wish you a happy and peaceful day. And may these meritorious powers be with the Venerable monks and also divine being and the entire world. And may the suffering world be away from those suffering. And with this wholesome thought, we are going to recite the Ovada Patimokkha. And Bhante Sanapala and myself are unmuted, and so we both can recite together.
Yeah. Sabba papassa akaranang kusalas
upasampada sacitta pariyodapanang etang buddhana sasanang. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
So thank you, Venerable Sirs and Bhikkhuni, for joining this wonderful discussion. I feel very happy, joyful. My heart is now actually full of love, full of metta, and as you all are smiling, and this is the true unity. the bringing all the wearables together through the Zoom, through the technology. Though there's pandemic, COVID-19, it doesn't really matter. We can still have this Dhamma discussion using the technology. And of course, wearable Dhammikite, I called you, but it's okay. Now the time is up. We had a wonderful discussion. Thank you for joining all the way from Korea. And of course, we will continue this discussion or maybe bi-weekly, right? And all the venerables are busy with their own program. And we will inform the audience, the people, and the devotees. So may all the blessings of the Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha be with you, the venerable monks and nuns, and all our friends who are watching us from different regions, different countries, for your long life, good health, happiness, peace of mind. And of course, venerable monks and nuns don't have Valentine, but I would like to wish you happy Valentine. But our audience, people joining us from different countries, they are our Valentine. And those who are watching us, wish you a happy Valentine tomorrow. Okay, thank you, Busarnai.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Good night.
Busarnai.
Busarnai.
Thank you.
Buddha Saranai.